Hello class, welcome to lesson 2.5, which is all about solving equations involving absolute value. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to evaluate absolute value expressions as well as absolute value equations. So let's jump right in. We don't have any new vocab terms for this section. Just a reminder that absolute value means how far away a number is from zero, okay? So we're measuring distance kind of with absolute value. Alright, so let's start by evaluating this expression. Now, we want to know 23 minus the absolute value of 3 minus 4x if x equals 2. Okay, so let's start by plugging in this information. We have 23 minus the absolute value of 3 minus 4 times 2. Okay, absolute value as far as order of operations, absolute value counts as parentheses, okay? You treat them like parentheses. So let's figure out what this equals. 3 minus, what's 4 times 2? So we have 3 minus 8. And 3 minus 8 is negative 5. The absolute value of negative 5, how far away from 0 is negative 5? It is 5 spaces. You always, if you have a negative number inside, it becomes positive. Just a reminder. So 23 minus 5 is 18. So our answer for this expression is 18. Okay? Your turn to try. Evaluate the absolute value of 17 minus b plus 23 if b equals 6. Hopefully you got 34 as an answer. If not, be sure to ask either myself or a friend, and we'd be happy to help. Let's look at our second example. We want to solve each equation, then graph the solution set. Okay, so I included this little box up here for helpful information if you want. I'm going to just kind of walk through how to do these problems. So we have the absolute value of y plus 2 equals 4. Okay. Whenever you are solving equations involving absolute value, you have to solve them twice. And what I mean by that is you take what's inside the absolute value, or what's on this side of the equation, and you set it equal to the positive of that number, and you set it equal to the negative. And the reason we do that is because you could have the absolute value of 4, and that equals 4. Or you could have the absolute value of negative 4, that also equals 4. They are both 4 units away from 0. Okay, that's why we have to set both the equation equal to both the positive 4 and the negative 4. It's really easy to forget that, okay? So y plus 2 equals 4 and y plus 2 equals a negative 4. We need to solve this. So hopefully solving it from here isn't too bad. We want y by itself, so we have to subtract 2 from both sides. So we have y equals 2. And on this side, subtract 2 from both sides, we have y equals negative 6. And if we plug that in, we have the absolute value of 2 plus 2. That's the absolute value of 4. That equals 4. And then we have negative 6 plus 2. That equals the absolute value of negative 4, which equals 4. Okay? So those are our two solutions. And we want to graph these two solutions on, it says graph the solution set. In this instance, that means graph those 2 points on a number line. So look for 2, plot a point, and negative 6, put a point. Voila, done. I have graphed the solution set. Okay? Now let's look at b. We have the absolute value of 3n minus 4 equals negative 1. Is it possible for the absolute value of something to equal a negative? You might say, well, if you look up here, we have y plus 2 equals negative 4. Yes, we do, but we already got rid of our absolute value at that point. So what you need to do here, we have the absolute value equals a negative number. That is not possible. So all that you have to say, you put a 0 and you put a slash through it. That means null, which means that it is a null set. There's no answer that will make that true. It's kind of like a no solution, okay? So just write a 0 with a line through it. That means a null, okay? Which is the same basically as no solution. So if you ever see the absolute value of something equal to a negative number, that's an easy one. You just write null and you say no solution. Sometimes you will mix it up and you might just be so on a roll that you start writing it out. You might just say 3n minus 4 equals negative 1, 3n minus 4 equals 1. And if you do that, yes, you will get n to equal two different numbers, but they are not right. That is not going to work out as answers. Okay? Go ahead and try this one on your own, see how you do. Hopefully for this first one, you got your solution set to be at 1 and negative 4, and then matching that number line. Try this next one, see how you do. And hopefully for this one, you got the null set, because it is the absolute value of something equal to a negative number. Let's look at example 3 together. Ice cream should be stored at 5 degrees Fahrenheit with an allowance for 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so that means it can go up or down 5 degrees. Write and solve an equation to find the maximum and minimum temperatures at which the ice cream should be stored. Okay, so you might look at this and you say, okay, so it can go up 5 degrees or it can go down 5 degrees. And you might be able to tell me right away what the two answers are. But you need to also be able to write the equation. So let's start there. We have a temperature, right? So let's use T. And it should be stored at 5 degrees, right? And it can vary 5 degrees. So we're going to take the absolute value of T, and then we're going to say T minus 5 equals 5. Okay? The absolute value of T minus 5 equals 5. So no matter what this temperature is, it should end up being within 5. Now if we plug in, you might have been able to look at these and say, okay, we start at 5, allowance of 5, so if we add 5, the maximum temperature is going to be 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and if we take away 5, we're going to be at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So if we plug those two numbers in, they should hold true. So if we have 10 minus 5, the absolute value of that, is that 5? Yes. And if we do 0 minus 5, the absolute value of a negative 5 is still 5. Okay? Why don't you go ahead and try this one on your own, see how you do. Hopefully you got 30 and 60 to be your answers. If not, be sure to ask for some help. And now let's look at our last example. We want to write an equation involving absolute value for the graph. Okay, so we are given 2 points, and we want to write an equation that will get us these 2 points as our answers, as our solution. The way that you do this, whenever you have a number line, you want to find the halfway point between those two dots. Okay, so what's halfway between negative 2 and 4? That would be right here at 1. They're each 3 away, right? Okay, I found my halfway point. That's how much it can vary. That is where you say equals, and then that's where that number goes. However far to the middle. that goes on the equal side on its own. Then what you do, you take your variable and you say minus. Now you might wonder, what number do you put in there? That number is always going to be whatever number is halfway between, okay? So x minus 1, because that's the number right there. We have 1. So the absolute value of x minus 1 equals, and then how far away it is from the middle. Okay, and that would be your equation. And let's quickly try solving it just to make sure. So we'd say x minus 1 equals 3, and you'd say x minus 1 equals negative 3. So x minus 1 equals 3. Tee it up, add 1 to both sides. You have x equals 4, or x equals negative 2. Does that check out? We have negative 2 and a 4, so I'd say this equation works. Alright, try this one on your own, see how you do. It's your last one for the section. Okay, hopefully you discovered it was 2 is our middle number, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4 units away. So you're going to have an equals 4, and then x minus whatever number's in the middle, 2. So that means you should have had letter A, or absolute value of x minus 2 equals 4 as your answer. Alright, if you have any questions on any problems from this video, please be sure to let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. I hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow.